comes to your mind when I say news? Do you think of a video on your phone or blaring breaking news headlines popping up on your television screen? Maybe you imagined a row of newspapers, bold black letters printed carefully on crisp white paper. Does your image of news get a face? Perhaps a figure poised over a notebook with a pen in hand, or someone working on a computer or typewriter late into the night. Yes, you know exactly whom am I talking about. It's the journalist. And today, my topic of discussion is on the claims that journalism codes are no longer followed by journalists. I'm going to talk about the industry, the codes, why are they not following it, and how can we help to improve the situation. Now, I feel that journalism is the only bridge that connects an individual to the entire world. Today, news is on demand. It's on every reader's fingertips. Unlike old times. Decades back, we had to adapt our behavior to the news channel or the news media. We had to be home to watch Pratima Puri on Doordarshan. We had to wake up early in the morning to get the morning newspaper. Now, news media has to adapt to our behavior. That means news is more convenient. That also means that we can satisfy our curiosity whenever we want. News is in our pocket. Today, 25% of people say that they get more news than they used to. They read more news than they ever imagined to. And this comes with an unbearable pressure on the journalists. I want to highlight that because of the deep set tension between the journalists and the outside factors, such as profit or maintaining public prestige, journalists are not able to fulfill their ultimate goal, that is, spreading truth. And this is the real reason why we are not able to trust the news media. They don't seem to fulfill their purpose anymore. They don't seem to help us. They just seem to just have our attention in order to sell advertisements. We want to have an environment where we can trust the news blindfoldedly. We don't want to go from one blog to another, one channel to another, in order to understand whether the news are fake or not. For that, we need our journalists to follow their codes and their oath precisely. These are 6 codes of journalism. First is truth and accuracy. Journalists should strive for accuracy. They should give out relevant data. They should always check their data thoroughly, and if they are not able to corroborate the information, they should say so. Then comes fair play and impartiality. As we all know, there are 2 sides of a story, and we understand that journalists are humans too. They might have a partial view towards a story, but it needs to be presented in an impartial way so that it's open for public to make a view. Then comes responsibility and accountability. A responsible journalist always will be accountable for his or whole information. If they give out wrong information, they will always try to correct it. They'll say to the public that it's the wrong information. They'll correct it. The 5th one is freedom of press. We all know it's important, and it should not be used for any of the other purpose. The purpose should be only for the greater good of the public. And the 6th one is independence. As we all know, that journalists should be independent voices. They should not be influenced by any political or cultural or any kind of financial impact on it. And here's the catch. I feel that journalism codes are no longer followed by journalists because of us. Yes, you heard it right. I'm saying it's because of us. We are the ones motivating the situation. We are not doing anything to say out loud that we don't trust you. We need to do that. Journalists and us had an unspoken contract of trust. Clearly, that contract of trust has been broken. Less than quarter of Indians say that they trust the news. Now, not trusting the news might not seem like a big issue into our day-to-day life, but the information that we get on our day-to-day basis helps us to make bigger discussions or decisions as well. For example, how are we going to vote, or how are we going to use our tax money? And for that, we really need the trust contract to be made again. Let me repeat it. I believe that codes of journalism are not followed because of us. The news media industry is no longer fueled by advertisements or revenues or subscriptions. They are actually fueled by our attention. It is actually called the attention economy. We all know what it looks like. We all have heard of clickbaits. Tell me, how many of us have not clicked the news after knowing that it is already a fake news from the headline? Simply giving you information no longer keeps news media into the business. They actually get into the business, and they be into the business because of our attention. Good news is we can we can actually transform the industry. We are the ones that has to demand. We have to demand for better news. We have to demand for impartial news, precise news. We have to stop clicking the clickbaits. We have to stop clicking the news that looks fake and useless. We have to divert our attention to the channels that gives us precise information, and that will motivate the whole industry to transform the way they give us the information. For that, we'll have to understand how to spot fake news. We'll have to spot fake news, and then we can always divert the attention to the ones that give us news that is correct and precise. The first one is to understand where the information is coming from. What is the source? Read more news from that source. Understand whether they are following the codes of journalism or not. The second one is too much emotion. So if you are getting too much of emotion like sadness or anger, that is a red flag. No blog or no news can be as partial to give you only one emotion. It needs to show you two sides of the news. The third one is author of the article. Understand who is the author of the article. Read his past work. If there is no author of the article, be skeptical about the article. The fourth one is details of the news. Don't just read the headlines. Get into the details of it. Read more news about it. Read into details and get the crux of it precisely. The fifth one is image accuracy. Understand that Google gives you reverse image search. So if you get an image on the news blog or anything, try to understand whether the image is of the same incident or not. Is it of the same date? Is it of the same country? And this will help us understand whether it's a fake news or not. So now let's pledge. Let's together restore the trust agreement. Thank you.